I'm Raul Garcia, one of the public information officers for the Arizona Department of Public Safety. And in just a moment, our director here at DPS, Colonel Frank Milstead, is going to introduce to you the citizen that stopped to render aid and ultimately saved the life of Trooper Anderson. Colonel Milstead's last name is spelled M-I-L-S-T-E-A-D. Anderson is with two S's, so A-N-D-E-R-S-S-O-N, and that's Trooper Ed Anderson. That citizen is 43-year-old Thomas Yaxel, and he is an Arizona resident. Last name is spelled Y-O-X-A-L-L. Going forward, Mr. Yaxel would like the news media to continue to respect his privacy and that of his family. Today he will discuss his actions only. He is not here to discuss the actions of anyone else on scene at that incident on January 12th. His recollection of the events from the morning of January 12th are based purely on his memory of the incident. In the meantime, the DPS investigation still continues. He will respond to a limited number of questions after his statement. He's not going to get too specific on the details due to this ongoing investigation. He respects and appreciates the media's attention to this incident, their coverage of the incident, and he's grateful for the privacy that him and his family have been afforded thus far. But during this difficult time, he hopes that you will understand that privacy and afford that to him and his family after today. And so now I'd like to introduce the Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Colonel Frank Milstead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. As I'd indicated over the last week and a half, we were going to introduce you to our good citizen that inevitably saved the life of Trooper Anderson. Thomas and I have been able to talk quite a bit over the last week and a half. He's spoken with the governor, and the governor's given him his thanks. And I am proud to introduce him and what he has done for this agency, and I would thank the media for how you guys have handled this, given us the time and the time that Thomas needed to present himself and to talk. So without further introduction, our good citizen and our hero, Thomas Yaxel.
First of all, I'd like to say thanks to Colonel Milstead and everybody in the DPS and law enforcement that has been supportive throughout this. It's overwhelming, to say the least. I would like to personally thank the media for their professionalism throughout this and respecting my desire to initially stay anonymous. It has been helpful. Some people might wonder and ask why I'm coming forward now, initially wishing to be anonymous. To that I say it's part of my healing process and moving forward and coming to grips with that incident Thursday morning. I know there was some question about any type of law enforcement or military training that I might have had, and I can say that I've had no such training. I do, though, feel that it's a right and a privilege to be a private gun owner, and with that right and privilege comes a great responsibility, not only for myself but to those around me. So I have taken the time to make sure several times a year to go out and practice those safety techniques to make sure that I'm always responsible. From this point forward, I know that people will look into my past. I do have a past, just like everyone else does. And I would ask that people remember that those moments of poor judgment have not dictated my future, nor represent the person that I am here today. That morning, I never would have dreamt that I was going to save somebody's life, let alone take the life of another individual. It is something that will stick with me. As I was coming up onto the scene, Slowing down, I can see Trooper Anderson's lights on and the flares in the road. As I proceeded to go forward, I noticed the suspect on top of Trooper Anderson, beating him in a savage way. I immediately pulled over, responded to Trooper Anderson. My commands were ignored by the suspect as Trooper Anderson called out for help. And I alleviated the threat to him. I firmly believe that that morning I was put there, as Colonel Milstead said before, by God. It's difficult to think about that day still. I am just thankful that I was able to respond with the courage, dignity, grace, and poise that ultimately saved Trooper Anderson's life. Moving forward, I ask the media continue to handle themselves in a professional manner and respect my wishes and not to contact me directly for any further information. If you wish to talk to me further, I ask that you go through the proper channels at DPS that have been helping me through this. This tragedy, and it was, has affected a lot of people, a lot of lives. Trooper Anderson, his family, my family, me. I don't want to exasperate the pain that was felt that morning. And I'd like everybody the opportunity to move forward and have their chance to heal. I will take a couple questions if anybody has any at this time.
Can you take us through the afternoon, I mean that morning, from getting out of your car, what you were thinking?
To be honest with you, it was very visceral and instinctive. I had to help. I knew I had to help. So there wasn't an option for me. It wasn't until after, and you have that moment to think about your actions, that those emotions start to flood in. Again, at the time, my primary concern was for the life and welfare of Trooper Anderson, first and foremost, and putting an end to what was occurring to him.
What gave you the confidence to act rather than do what so many citizens are told to do, call police? What gave you the confidence and the gut feeling that this was the way to go about it?
It's who I am. I can't arbitrarily stand by and watch a tragedy like that unfold without doing what I can to intervene and stop it. To me, there was no choice. There was no opportunity or chance for me to think about it rationally within my mind. I responded the only way I know how to respond, and that's to act. And again,
anything close to this in your life before? Anytime you've taken an action that can...
nothing like this.
Did you fear for your own life as you're coming up on the scene, not secure, not knowing who's shooting at who, and I would imagine it's really dark and hard to see?
In all honesty, I don't recall any thought or feeling of fear. Again, it happened very quickly. And in that moment, there wasn't necessarily a time for me to react or logically think it out. It was, I need to help him, and I did. I responded.
Thomas, from almost, I think, the beginning of this story, people becoming aware of it, a lot of folks were referring to you as a hero, and have been ever since. Your reaction to that?
So my reaction to that is, I don't consider myself a hero. In all honesty, the heroes that day were the first responders who offered aid and comfort to Trooper Anderson, all members of law enforcement that were there on the scene assisting and on a daily basis. Those are the heroes, and they always will be. I'm an ordinary person. I go to work. I do photography. I hang out with my friends and family. I read. I was put in extraordinary circumstances, and I may have acted heroically, but I don't consider myself a hero at all.
Can you talk about what you're thinking, how you're feeling now that it's been a couple of weeks and you've had time to digest it?
It's been helpful to talk to others that have been in similar situations, to find that support for my pastor as well. It comes in waves. It's the best way I can describe it. You replay the moments through your mind, and they're almost like chapters of a DVD. You just get to watch one segment over and over again. And it hurts, you know. I wouldn't expect anybody else to be affected any differently than I am, although I can't speak for anybody else personally. And it's going to take some time. Again, understanding that I did save somebody's life that morning, but I had to take somebody else's life in the process, and it's difficult to reconcile.
A lot of people are impressed by the way you handle it. You say you have no experience in the military or law enforcement, yet you take a couple shots into the dark and you accurately hit the suspect. What is your background in it?
And again, I have no formal training. And again, I'll emphasize the fact that I feel as being a private gun owner, it's a responsibility, and one that should be taken seriously. So again, I make the effort to go out and practice and shoot with friends who are better than I am, have that experience, and it's not unlike a group of friends getting together for a game of golf or a round of cricket at a pub. You go out and you do what you enjoy. I've never felt that being a gun owner should be stigmatized.
What type of weapon
That's
But I guess a weekend golf guy would probably be really scared of the Phoenix Open. You also got out of your car the first time without your weapon. I mean, were you thinking tactically? I guess without getting specifically, were you thinking tactically that day?
I'll let you answer that, Colonel Mustard, if you'd like.
Just real quick, we kind of cleaned that up last week. He actually removed the gun from the car when he got out on the first occasion. So that original story was inaccurate.
But had you had practice, had you had tactical practice?
I wouldn't call it tactical practice. Again, going out and shooting in an enclosed range or out in the desert in an area that's designated for shooting. We take it seriously. We're not out there to joke around or horse around, and that's what we do.
So I kind of gave Thomas my word that we would keep this short for his own. Is there anything else you want to say, or are you good?
The gentleman in the blue hat has been very patient, so I would like to let him have a moment.
You've been affected by this tremendously, like anybody else would. Would you do this again?
Yes, I would.
And why?
I've thought about that. I've actually had that conversation with my pastor. Again, I don't know any other way to be. I've been called a couple different things by my friends, as far as, you've always been the protector, the defender, and I couldn't comment on that any further as how true it is. But I just know that doing the right thing sometimes has a price, and that price is severe. This is something that I will live with, but I wouldn't change it because another man got to go home to his family, and his family gets to keep him for a little while longer, and that's the important part. So yes, placed in a similar situation, I would not hesitate to respond exactly in the same fashion. So.
All right.
Well, can you just
Take
tell us what you do for a living?
photographer.
Currently, I am actually a maintenance supervisor. I've been a tradesman for most of my life, and I do photography. Hopefully one day I will be a photojournalist like everybody else here in the room.
So if you guys know of any openings.
When you were traveling with a significant other, or by yourself, were you by yourself at the time?
So we're done.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
So-
He's good. Thanks for and just real quick, is there anything that I can answer from DPS for you guys before we call it a day?
How
The recovery is ongoing. He has more surgery scheduled. The wound that he suffered is very severe to the humerus bone. Lost a portion of the bone, and but he is. I spoke to him, I think, last on Monday, and he's in good spirits and he's optimistic.
Frank, how would you characterize what Thomas did?
You know, Mike, how would I characterize what Thomas did? I would tell you that almost to his own words, you have an ordinary guy, a very humble guy, as you guys can see, comes across extraordinary circumstances, and he reacts at the highest level with everything to lose that morning and very little for him to gain, and he does it exceptionally well. And I'm humbled to have met him and to know what he did, because we're having this conversation about a hero and not about an on-duty death, an in the line of duty death. So he's an amazing guy, and like I said, I've been fortunate enough to be able to talk to him pretty much every day or so over the last week and 10 days, and I think he and I will always talk, so it's good.
Is there any way the DPS can reach out? Because right now, he has an emotionally to get over this trauma. Is DPS equipped in any way to help him through that process?
That's a great question. The question is, are we doing anything to help him through the process? And the answer to that is yes. And he's doing his own thing with counselors, but we provided our peer support. We have provided him connection back through the associations here. So we are doing everything we can to facilitate whatever it is that he needs. And we offer probably more than he accepts, but we're a grateful department. All right. I only know they met that morning, and I know that established this unbelievable bond. And as of last Monday, I don't think that they had, or maybe it was Friday, I guess. Friday they hadn't actually seen each other, so I don't know if that occurred over the weekend or not, candidly. But I'm sure they will, again. All right. Well, hey, thank you all again. Thanks for your support of this agency and Arizona law enforcement.
Yoxall is Yoxall. He's 43 years old and he lives in Arizona.